Okay, welcome to this cold night in February. I see lots of new people who are out for the first time this winter, members and guests. So welcome. We have some new members here tonight. Glad to have you with us. I'm Jerry Paulson. I'm the current president of the chapter here. And I say current because we're having an election tonight, so I may not be the president after tonight. Yeah. But we have a really great program for you, but we do have some business to take care of before that. First of all, everybody at home, we've muted you, and if you turn off your video, then it helps you to save your bandwidth. If you have a question, you can either put it in the chat, or when we're done, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. We can't control the mute. We can mute you, but we can't unmute you from here. The first order of business, well, I want to thank the Forest Preserve District for allowing us to meet here tonight. We don't normally have been meeting at the Cherry Valley Library, and we have to book that month to month, and sometimes we get bumped. So when we got bumped, we called here, and they said, well, since Mike Groves is a staff of the Forest Preserve District, yeah, you can meet here. That's just great. And they set everything up for us, and we really appreciate all that they've done. And the second time we've been here, actually, in the last several months. The first order of business is members, Wild Ones members for our chapter should have received an email this week giving you a link to go online to fill out our annual membership survey. So I hope you've all gotten that link. It came in an email blast, and have clicked on the link and gone on to fill out that survey. This is the first time we've done this electronically. We used to do the balloting for the election and the survey by mail, and because of the price of everything going up, we've decided we would go electronic. If you don't have access to a computer at home, we can send you a paper copy of that survey to fill out and send in. But please look for the email and go online and fill out that survey. It's very valuable information that we use in planning our programs for the year and setting our agenda. The second order of business is you all should have found a little ballot on your chair when you came in. We are tonight holding an in-person and online election of our board, officers, at-large members, and we elect our membership coordinator. That's an official position. We have several of the candidates here tonight. Those of you at those of members who are online, we're going to post a copy of the ballot, and you should be able to, I've been assured that this can be done. And it'll be posted in the chat, and you can pull that up, fill it out, and send it back to, I guess, I'm not sure who, the chat room. And your vote will be counted. So Janet, are you able to do that? I haven't seen Katie online.
Janet's outside. Yeah, Janet did communicate with her.
She is going to put it in the chat.
Okay, Katie's going to put that in the chat. So if you would look online for that, then you can fill that out. Otherwise, I'm going to ask, yeah?
What the responsibility of an officer entail?
A lot of like what I'm doing. I was going to introduce the people that have been nominated so far. Our officers are all returning. Myself as president will be nominated. And Vice President Linda Rickard. Janet is our trusted treasurer, and Kathy Johnson back there is running again for secretary. Now, we have different responsibilities. Linda's as vice president, she's responsible for putting together these programs. I'm responsible for running the meetings and making sure everything gets done on time. And Janet does all the invoices and pays all the bills and does all our financial reporting. And Kathy records the minutes and sends out official documents. We also have 3 at-large positions, and Katie Vernon would be a new at-large member. She's online tonight. Debbie Davis, I don't know if Debbie's with us. She would be a new member at large, and Gloria Powell is here, and she's been an at-large member for 2 years. And then Sally Krebs is our membership coordinator, and that's probably the most important job of all of us. She keeps track of all of our memberships, sends out all of our emails, all of our newsletter notices and notices for this meeting, and it's a very important job. So let me ask, first of all, after hearing that, if there's anybody who is interested in being nominated for any of these positions. I think those of us who have been here for a while, we're looking to find our replacements. I don't want to put you on the spot, but Greg, how would you like to be the president? Mm-hmm. So think about it. We meet only every other month as the board, and we are having a planning retreat this Saturday, but other than that, it's mostly keeping things going. And our big event is the spring plant sale, which involves hundreds of volunteers and many hours of work, and so lots of different things. So with that, let's just take a minute for you to fill out your ballots, hearing no volunteers, and Kathy or Linda will go around with the box and you can just put it in there. You just put a check for everybody you want to vote for.
Anybody needs a shirt here and
And I don't know if I said, but you need to be a member to vote. You need a pen, a pencil, Phil? Oh. So while you're filling those out, I just wanna remind everybody about the members should have all gotten a postcard with all of our programs that are coming up. And we have more of them here. If you are visitors tonight, take one home, post it on your refrigerator or what calendar or whatever to remind you of the events that are coming up this year. So technical difficulty. So, while she's doing that, do we have any other announcements? Linda, do you want to say anything about next month's program? Well, next month we will be back at the Cherry Valley Library and will be March 20th. Same as tonight, 20th of March. And
Yeah, we're gonna have Susan Carpenter from the Madison Arboretum. I don't know how long they have plants. If anybody's ever been up to the garden up there at Madison Arboretum, got a really great display. And she's gonna be here and give us a presentation on that.
okay, and then April, Mark, you want to say anything about our April program?
Yes, we'll have a program on sedges. Mandy used to work at Pizzo and is now with is it Midwest Gardeners? Is that sound right?
Midwest Growers, yeah.
So the a program on sedges, less identification, but more practical, what kind of wildlife would be going to come to a sedge meadow or sedges around your house or things like that. So
Yeah.
the wildlife benefits of sedges.
Okay. We've had a couple programs on sedges, but this will be talking about using them in your home landscape. Sedges are really cool. Jenny,
Just real quickly, last month, we had a program on, about, looking at just 1 square meter.
Mhm.
The road book. Great book, and so it's in our library.
okay, and then in May, we're gonna have a very special program. There'll actually be a whole weekend of programming that we'll be doing in cooperation with Severson Dells Nature Center and some of the other of the Pelican Fest. It'll be going on that weekend and some other things. Our program will be Thursday night on the May 15th, and it'll be Kevin Weiner, who has a blog and website called All Bugs Go to Kevin. This is a guy who loves insects and he loves to talk about spiders and all the creepy crawly things and talk about how they're not so, how you should learn to love them. He's a really great educator and he's going to be here for that whole weekend and starting out that night at the hopefully at the Cherry Valley Library. And we'll start with a program of some of his slides and then he'll take us outside and look for bugs. And one last thing is that we now have a button on our website where you can make donations directly to our chapter. And that's something new because donations have been going to national and we found out that they never came back to us. So if you want to make a donation direct to the chapter, you should really either write out a check and give it to us or go on our website and hit the donation button on the website. So with that, did everybody at home get the ballot now? I've been seeing chats. There's a link that Janet sent you. Those will get sent in and get counted at a later date. or later tonight. So, I think we've taken care of all of the business for tonight. If you've been reading your newsletters, and paying attention, you should be aware that the Fish and Wildlife Service, whatever still exists of it, is taking public comments on designating critical habitat for the federally endangered rusty patch bumblebee. And it turns out that Northern Illinois, and especially in the Chicago and Rockford area, has one of the highest concentrations of populations of rusty patch bumblebees in the nation. Go figure. Maybe it's just because there's a lot of people here who are paying attention and are looking for that species, or because our habitat, we have a lot of natural habitat for the bees, but there's something like 1.6 million acres of habitat that they're designating through this rulemaking process, which I'm guessing is probably going to be extended. But the Forest Preserve District is one of the groups that are spending a lot of effort to create and restore habitat for the endangered rusty patch bumblebee. And the person pretty much in charge of that is our own Mike Groves. Mike was born and raised here in Winnebago County, and he's a graduate of the University of Wisconsin at Stevens Point with his major in wildlife management and biology. And he's been working for the Forest Preserve District since 1990. He started out in preserve maintenance and a summer intern at Clem Arboretum, and then transferred to the Natural Resource Department in 1997, where he's been ever since. He is involved with management of all the 44 preserves in the district, which totals over 12,000 acres. And that includes working on native seed collection, seed cleaning, greenhouse propagation, invasive species control, tree planting, wildlife monitoring, restoring natural areas. Oh, the list goes on. So before I turn this over to him, just say again that we posted the Google Doc form for those of you at home who want to vote on chat. So, and you know how to work this now?
I think so.
Okay, so let's welcome Mike Groves.
Thank you for coming. Welcome to the Forest Preserves. Like Jerry said, we have 44 preserves for about 12,000 acres.
So you're gonna need to stand
Oh, I got it.
here so that people at home can see you
Okay,
and
no
hear
problem.
you.
Alrighty. And I think when I started here, I think it was around 4,000, 4,500 acres. So I've watched it grow pretty well. And they talk about the rusty patch being kind of a hot spot in the area. And I don't think it's by any accident. We have some great restorations and stuff. So I'll share some of those with you tonight. And I'll start out first by does anybody know how to identify the bumblebees? I got some handouts. Does everybody have this handout? I can pass it around. So there's the rusty patch bumblebee. I'll get up here. This is the rusty patch bumblebee, the Bumbus finis. And if you see a brown stripe, the brown needs to be touching the yellow. So if it's touching yellow, it's a rusty patch bumblebee. And the only other bumblebee in the area is a brown belted bumblebee, this one. And that brown touches the black. So you just learned two bumblebees. Brown touching black, brown belted. Brown touching yellow, rusty patch. And there's like 3 different sizes of bumblebees. I call them like small, medium, and large. So like the top 2 are be like small bumblebees. And then the rusty patch kind of fits into that medium size. And then there's 2 larger bumblebees, the Bumbus acrimonius and Bumbus pennsylvanicus. So, and then I'll show, there's some other identifications. So here's another one. That's better. We run out of copies, I can only keep small. So here's some pictures of some. And there's also a red belted bumblebee. So that one all has the red abdomen. So now that's the only one in the area that's red. So now you know a third bumblebee right off the bat. And then one of the small ones is the two spotted. And that one's real easy to see. You just see the two little yellow bumps hanging down. So there's like 4 bumblebees, really easy to identify. And that's the second slide. And this one's just a little pocket guide. It'll fold up and you can keep that in your pocket or in your wallet or something. That would be this one. So, yep, so this is a really handy one to have around. And okay. The really big one, the Bombus pennsylvanicus. Let me go back. Let's see which one it is. The pennsylvanicus and the acrimonious, these are really the big ones. They're like as big as your thumb almost. And there's only like 2 of those. And the pennsylvanicus, that's really rare, so you're probably not gonna really see that so much. So you'll see the acrimonious more. But then there's another one that's pretty easy to identify. And then the red ferretus one, it's just black and yellow, black and yellow. And it's a pretty big bumblebee too, about the size of your thumb. And that's the only one that has the alternating black, yellow, black, yellow. There's another one that's really good. And then there's 2 cuckoo bumblebees. They're nest parasites. They're like a cowbird almost. They'll just lay their eggs with other bumblebees. And they think the ferretus one is extinct, so that's probably not around. So the only one you'll see would be 16. Yeah, I think I passed that one around. And so the life cycle of a bumblebee, they're kind of neat little insects. The females are the only ones that survive through winter. So in the spring, the first bumblebees that you'll see, like when the spring ephemeral's out, those are all queens. So let's say April, maybe probably time, the only bumblebees you'll see are the queens, and they are all mated in the fall, so they'll start laying eggs. And the first ones that they have are the worker bees. So then so the queen will start laying eggs, and then the workers will go out and collect the pollen and the nectar, or get all the pollen and bring it back to the nest. And that's what feeds the newly hatched bumblebees. And so then after they got enough workers, then the queen will start laying eggs to produce males and the next future queens. So that'll start like in August.
Do they form their hives in the ground?
Yeah, they're all going burrows in the ground. Yep. And then late summer, that's when you'll see the males and the new queens out, and they'll mate. And then they'll all die except for the new queens, and they'll overwinter. And so that's why it's important to kind of leave some refuge areas and stuff over the winter, so that you're not just killing off the whole next generation of bumblebees. I take a picture. Oh, I got my hand up. This hand up top.
Yeah, they put them up.
There's another one at the bottom. So like if you want to get more information or even record your bumblebee sightings, there's like 2 spots to do it. And one is the Bee Spotter website. I don't know if too many people use Bee Spotter anymore. This is what we started using. But if you go on their website, you can see all kinds of information about the different types of bees, and you'll find pictures and how to identify them. But you can like take a picture of a bumblebee, and that's really hard. Sometimes you want to take a video and then like do a little segment of the video where you get a good picture, and then post it, and there'll be experts on there. They'll tell you what it is and stuff like that will help you. And then the second site that I think more people are starting to use now is iNaturalist. And you can just sign up and make your own username and stuff. And then like you can do a search. I did like Winnebago, Illinois, and then I just did what species I want, but they'll do any animal, insect, species, plant is all on iNaturalist. And then they'll come up on a search, and there's some pictures of rusty patch bumblebees that were in like Winnebago County area. So why are the rusty patch bumblebees endangered? A lot of it's loss of habitat, fragmentation of habitat, loss of plant diversity, pesticides, disease, and climate change. With the Forest Preserve here, we're always trying to recreate large tracts of habitat and trying to connect properties with one another and getting rid of that fragmentation. So now you got travel corridors, and you got these large tracts of land that, you know, they have plenty of food and foraging. I always talk about, you got to build a house first for, you know, it's just like people don't thrive unless they have a good home and a good food source. So the same with anything, insects or the animals. So this is the range of the rusty patch bumblebees. You can see like the whole upper northeast part of the country had rusty patches at one time. And now it's more like just Illinois and Indiana and southern Wisconsin are pretty good hotspots. And then there's just some little fragmented populations just trying to hold on in other areas. So, but that's again, you know, we've all traveled through central Illinois. It's nothing but cornfields. You know, there's no habitat there anymore for them. And same with Iowa and some of the other states. So trying to get, you know, large continuous blocks of habitat is really important. There's this handout. This kind of gives you an idea of some plants that they like. Like with any pollinator species or nectar loving insect, there has to be flowers blooming at all times throughout the year. So in the spring, those spring ephemerals coming up, they like to hit those, especially for those emerging queens that come out, they need food. And some of the early flowering shrubs are great, like the serviceberry and the plums, and they got gooseberry willows. I get them on Dutchman's bridges. I've seen them on, you know, anything early, they'll come out. And then later on in the summer, like I love like the prairie clovers, the vervain, the bergamot. Most of that stuff only blooms for a couple of weeks, but you got to keep, you know, finding other plant species that bloom throughout the year. I get them on world milkweed, lots of different thistles. Here's just another list of plants. The milkweeds and indigos, clovers, blazing stars. Then in the fall, the goldenrods and asters. They like silphiums. I always get them on a lot of silphiums.
And we'll have all these for sale in our native.
Yep. Yep. So those are all good ones. So keys attracting, you know, pollinators. Yeah, a lot of plant diversity. They always have something blooming. The large protected areas reduce the fragmentation. Just a lot of good food sources, leaving refuge areas in the wintertime and having water sources there, you know, all important. And it's just not for the bumblebees, you know, butterflies and everything. So that's kind of we started like more like into monarch butterfly, you know, management at first, and then it kind of went into the bumblebees. So it works for a lot of different things. So some of the management techniques that we use are prescribed burning, mowing, forestry mowing, invasive control, you know, trying to control invasive species. There's invasive native species and there's invasive non-native species. And then we do supplemental plantings, trying to increase the diversity of our prairie restorations, and there's some hand cutting and pulling. So, for prescribed burning, we do most of our prescribed burning in the spring and fall. So anytime from now from till like middle of April, usually our good burn season in the spring. Right now there's a lot of snow, so it's gonna be late this year probably. Um, usually we burn around 1,200 acres every year. So we're not like taking all the habitat, we have 12,000 acres and we're burning like maybe 1,200 of it, or 1,200. So that's only like 20%. So there's still a lot of refuge area out there for them. And we have a lot, maybe you might go somewhere and they're like, oh, they burnt like the whole preserve. Well, right across the street's another like 600-acre preserve that we didn't touch, so. um, we're not so much like dividing each field in half or something, but we might divide like the entire preserve or something like that. So. This is our forestry mower. It goes on a track skid loader, and it's got these teeth on it that spin, and it'll grind up trees like this big around and all the brush. And then we'll go back and treat the stumps and try to get rid of the invasive brush that way. Works really good on honeysuckle and buckthorn. We collect all our own seed. We do about 50 to 70 acres of prairie restorations every year. And we don't hardly buy any seed. It's all stuff that we collect. This is actually with a machine. I use this seed picker mostly on grasses. If I have large monoculture stands of certain species, I'll run it through too. But a lot of our work is by hand collecting. This is collecting little blue stem. I think I can do about 600 pounds of little blue stem in a day. There I filled up that whole trailer in probably like 4 hours, so. And we clean all our own seed too. I usually run it through a no-till drill, so we clean it all pretty well so we get all the chaff out of our seed. The grasses, our equipment won't clean the grasses because it's too fluffy and it plugs up our machines, but I work out a deal with like Applied Ecological where we just trade services. I might give them some seed and they clean the seed for us. And so it doesn't cost anybody anything. It works really good. And so this is our seed cleaning operation. This is over at Sears and Dells in the old dairy barn. So we have racks where we dry the seed. I got some that stack on top of the fans blowing through it and drying the seed. The red thing there is a hammer mill, so it'll bust up the seed and separate it from the chaff. And then we got another machine that sifts it, different size screens and stuff. So we spend a lot of time cleaning seed every year. But we collect about 140 to 150 different plant species. So some of it might only be a little handful, and others like the 600 pounds you saw in the little loops. All different amounts. We have a greenhouse, so that's kind of does our supplemental plantings. We raise around 3,000 plants or so in our greenhouse. Species vary from year to year depending on the viability of our seed, but we try to grow stuff that we don't have a lot of, and trying to increase the number of plants of a certain species and give us areas that we can collect the seed from. We have a tree nursery. A lot of this is for supplemental planting in the preserves. I'll buy like little whipstock of trees, pretty reasonably, and we'll grow them for 4 to 5 years. And we have 2 tree spades, and we'll replace trees like in the maintained areas. And then also in some of our prairie restorations, we're going to recreate savannas and stuff. We'll transplant some of the trees out in there too. But we probably move about 50 trees a year or so. And that takes a lot of time because you got to go back and water them and such. And hopefully you get a year where you get a lot of rain and it reduces the watering time. This is kind of our no-till drill, and this is how I plan our prairie restorations. Every spring, we drill the seed into the ground, and I usually these are all like ag fields, and usually the last crop they produce on our soybeans. So I drill right into the soybean ground, and there's not that much for weed competition. I have very little spraying to do, and might have to mow once, maybe twice a year is all to keep the weeds out of there. And that's usually like maybe just the first year and maybe a little bit the second year, and then we just let them go after that. So this is out of Funderburg Forest Preserve. So this field here, was planted probably 3 years ago now, I think, and the other field in the foreground, that was planted last year. So that field was like 55 acres, so that was a big chunk. So there's gonna be some large continuous blocks of prairie habitat. I think there's like 120 acres left to go or so out there. I think next year we'll finish that entire property off. So this is way back in 2017. We ended up getting a grant through the Fish and Wildlife Service. We ended up getting about $120,000 for habitat restorations for the rusty patch bumblebee. And we did like 3 sites. This is Cedar Cliff. This was used to be an old house site and they had a barns there. And a lot of this was like old cow pasture, and those trees are like box elders and cherries and just mostly native trees, but this invasive stuff that shouldn't be there. So part of that grant money, we used it and they cut all those trees down. So now you can see all the way through the prairie restorations and stuff. And we went back and planted it, those areas with our own seed that we collected. But we just hired a company to come in and cut all the trees for us. We probably would have never got to it, or it would have took us a really long time. We also did that also had a little project out at Kieselberg where all those trees got cut down and those are removed now. So that the prairies were kind of separated there. There's probably like 2 or 3 smaller prairies. Now it's one big, large prairie. Stone Bridge was part of that project as well. And this is along the Kinnickinnick Creek there, and they cut all the trees down. Most of those were like box elders, and now that's all planted in the prairie restorations and just reduce that fragmentation. There's more like plants that are favorable for pollinators to use. I'm just gonna focus on some of our larger preserves and just show you some of the stuff that we've done over the years. So Deer Run, this is one of my favorites. I think we started buying land there the mid 90s, and we finished up in like 2011 or so buying land there. And those are all the years that we planted the prairie restorations there. So it's like 675 acres. There's like 144 acre block of prairie there, 240 acres total in prairie restorations. We have wood duck houses, bluebird houses there. We got 2 osprey platforms that were just put up about 2 years ago. They're not being used yet, but hopefully soon. This is one of those places you always find something new when you go there. There's rusty snake-tailed dragonflies. I think there's only one other place in Illinois that has those dragonflies. Blaney's turtles, which are federally endangered. We have those there. And the Henslow sparrow, I remember starting work here, somebody said, oh, there's a Henslow sparrow. That was like the rarest bird around, it seemed like, and everybody's all excited. And now you go out there, you hear them calling all the time. It's like, oh, there's another Henslow sparrow out there, you know? Eagles, ospreys. One of the volunteers, Joyce Gibbons, I think she's found over 50 dragonflies and damselflies out there, so different species.
What do you attribute the success of your Henslow sparrow to?
Just habitat.
How many acres do they need? You know?
I would say at least they probably should have over like 50 or so continuous acres. They like pretty large tracts of grassland. And there used to be like, oh, you got to have, you know, you can't burn it for like 4 or 5 years. They need a lot of duff, but they seem like they're using it like the next year after your burn, or even that year. It doesn't seem like you need to build up a duff layer or anything like that for them.
So it's not like you need 250 acres for a Henslow.
It helps, but no, you could do it with like 50 or so. Yeah, it should be fine. They should use it. There's getting to be more and more of them around all the time, and I see them a lot. So it seems like all our prairie restorations get them now, and you know, dick thistles and meadow larks, and we're starting to get like short-eared owls and northern harriers using a lot of these big chunks a lot more. So it's like I said, it's one of those, you build it and they'll come. You know, they'll come back. And there's a lot of diversity in habitats there. Wetlands, open water, little areas, the floodplain forest, the upland forest. So this is like a late summer picture there. And this is the entrance when you first pull in. But when we bought, this was just the cornfield. and you would never know. We planted all those trees. Those are probably trees from our nursery, and then all the seeds and stuff that we collected. And you go there, like I'd say end of June, toward the middle of July. This is what it looks like. It's beautiful out there. Then Oak Ridge is right across the river from there. You can see Deer Run's up at the top of the page. So Deer Run, or Oak Ridge is right below that. And it's another, 650 acre preserve. So that's like 1,200 acres right there on top of one another. And the Kishwaukee River, the South Branch runs through it. So those are the years that we restored those prairies. So yeah, we started purchasing that in the late 90s. And then there's 200 acres of mesic prairie restoration done there. So that's the taller grasses. That one prairie, that grasses will be over your head when you walk through there. And you got bluebird houses and wood duck houses there as well. So this is a typical farm field. That's what it looked like. It was all farmed. And then just in a few years, this is all Penstemon digitalis. It's thick in there. That's like one of my favorite places to go pick Penstemon. And then late summer, then you got the silphiums, the rosinweed there, and the rattlesnake master. And so this large tracts of grassland area. I think yesterday I saw a northern harrier flying. Seward's another one that we bought a lot of land there. And so you can see all the restoration years there that when we planted it. There's still 75 acres of farmland there as well. But yeah, this was like one of our original preserves back in the 1930s. The original part was purchased, and then we started purchasing a lot more in the mid 90s. The reason for buying a lot of that land out to the western portion of the preserve was we wanted to put a lake there at one time. They kind of wanted to have like another rock cut kind of thing, but they did some watershed samples, and it just wasn't going to work out. It probably would have silted in really quickly, and it's a huge watershed that drains into it, which I'm glad it didn't, because it's a beautiful creek and there's all kinds of different fish species there. And we have a lot of bluebird houses there, and 350 acres of prairie restoration. It's huge grassland area. So and it's kind of rolly there, and all those trees are like a little oak savanna, and then the creek that runs down through the middle. So it's really a pretty preserve. Then we got the Peck Wetlands. This is our biggest preserve. It's over 1,000 acres. We bought a lot of this in the late 90s, and we restored it there around that early 2000 time. So yeah, this was a Ducks Unlimited project. We did a lot of wetland enhancement there. So there's 123 acres of wetland enhancement, 170 acres of prairie restoration, some reforestation. We do the wood duck houses and the bluebird houses there. And I always thought it's cool because the Peck River is so windy and curvy. There's actually, like, between that and the other preserve right across the street, which is Crooked River, there's 6.2 miles of river along there, just in that little section. So this is some of the wetland enhancement that Ducks Unlimited did. This is called like a tin whistle. It looks like an upside down T, and you can put stop logs in it to hold the water back. And really, we don't pump water in there. It's all from rain runoff or snow runoff, so if that stop log structure wasn't there, that whole area would just be a mud flat. It would just drain out, because it was pretty much dug that way so they could farm it. So there's usually about once a year I'll pull the stop logs just to clean out front of the culvert, because it gets all a lot of mud and plugged up. But yeah, it'll drain all that out if you let it. So, and this was all farmed. You can see where the dead trees are. That was like the edge of the farm field. And so when we put that stop log structure in, we flooded some of that, and it killed some of the trees, and had some. It's only maybe like 6 inches to a foot of water, but great for dragonflies and frogs and turtles and such. And some of the trees started, some reforestation that went on there.
This was like a berm that got put in, and it helps hold some of the water back. And there's another one of those water control structures that's in the middle of that. So yeah, after they dug it, they dug a canal to connect some of the oxbows. And so that's what it looks like after we planted. I think we planted like 10,000 little plugs of sedges and wetland plants and stuff in there. And so that's like the other end of it. And it's hold water all year long, even like when it's really dry, that'll still have water sitting in there. And so that there's a lot of reed canary, but there's a lot of cord grass and blue joint and some other sedges in there as well. And then all this prairie restoration, but all that was farmed at one time. This they put a stop log structure in this little area, and that never had water in it, and now it has water all the time. And there's Blaney turtles that use this pond and stuff now. And you can see where all the trees died from the water being in there year round.
When it was being farmed, how did you spot that you had that potential to create a significant size pond?
Yeah, well, you can see like there was little low depressions there. There's a lot of those were like old river scars, river meanders that closed off over the years because that river is always changing and stuff. At one time, the river probably went through there. Could have been 1,000 years ago or something. Just some little low depressions, and it just holds the water. And I've never seen this one dry. It's always has water in it, and we don't add water to it. It's just from runoff.
You go out and rip out ag tile?
Yeah. In fact, we just did some this last fall on some property that we bought. This one I don't think it was ever tiled just because it was so low. It's just it floods pretty often too. We go back. That's the road up there. The water will be up to the road. It gets so high in there. So, oh, this other picture. Just to show you how high the water will be over top of that berm. Like I've kayaked over top of it because the river is so high. And then Sugar River Alder. This is right up along the state line. So this is the state line right there. So that's as far as you can go in Illinois. And really sandy up there. It's like totally different habitat. Sand, exposed dolomite. And this is started in the mid 90s, and we've kept adding on to it over the years. So it's 537 acres. They have purchased from 93 to 2000. They had some wetlands there, a lot of dry dolomite. It's our largest remnant prairie is there. And we have a Illinois State Nature Preserve there and buffer area. So it's about 500 acres of permanently protected land. So that's kind of what it looks like after a burn. You can see all the exposed dolomite. Somebody tried to farm that at one time. I don't know how they ever, ran a plow through there. And this is a little older picture, but we've gotten rid of like a lot of those cedar trees and some of the other trees. And then there was probably like 30 acres of pine plantations on it at one time, and we've taken all those out as well. So then this is what it looks like after the burn. A lot of little blue stem, dropsy. If you like lupins, go up there after we burn. It's like you'd see probably like 50 acres of lupin. Cactus. I got some cactus. I think we collected this from Bell Bowl Prairie. We used to go out there and collect seed back in the 90s, and I got a little handful of prickly pear cactus from Bell Bowl, and we grew it in the greenhouse, and I've just been plugging it in and out there, just in some of the sandy spots. This is part of the remnant. 2 winters ago, we cut all those cedars down, so all the cedars are gone. And you can see there's some pucoons blooming. There's a lot of birdfoot violet. Yeah, can think of it. A lot, and then it's usually like solid with pale purple coneflowers and lead plant. Really pretty prairie. And then another thing we do, we take out long grass areas. This is at Killbuck. this was a ball diamond. There used to be a backstop over there, and you would never know. It's a little prairie restoration. We plugged in some trees from the nursery, and we just try to reduce like our maintenance cost. Less mowing. Preserves don't get used like they used to. They don't get large groups of people coming out like to play baseball and stuff. So we just planted it in the prairie restoration. This is at Atwood Golf Course at the entrance. This was like some long grass area that they used to mow, and that's my no-till drill. So I just sprayed it all with Roundup like that fall, and then I probably sprayed it again in the spring, and then we planted it. And now it looks like this. I got some wildflowers there. And this is like one of the big oak trees there at Atwood. We wanted to reduce mowing, so now we plugged in like some woodland plants and savanna plants underneath there, and so now we're helping to protect the oak by not mowing under it. And now we got Jacob's ladder and phlox and all kinds of other columbines, and this is like stuff homeowners can do. This is stuff you can do at your house. So this is like Sugar River. Actually, all of this now has been taken out of long grass. Now, this was just like a little strip that we did just to reduce it. We had all the cardinal flower and lobelia coming up in there. But now that was a ball diamond too. Now the whole thing's planted and it's beautiful with swamp milkweeds and columbine. I mean, not columbine, cardinal flower and lobelias. And this is my house. This is my Supreme Champion State Fair. Oh no, my son's Supreme Champion State Fair 4-H project. But I just took a little bit of my long grass out of home, and I used child labor to plant it. and last year I had rusty patch bumblebees using this, and mainly we built it for monarchs. This was back when they were pushing the monarch, restrict stuff. But yeah, so we could get all kinds of butterflies, all kinds of bumblebees, and it's just a little area. So now some pictures of stuff. Hoary vervain is one of my favorite plants. I love the color of it, but this is a rusty patch bumblebee. They seem to love hoary vervain.
So everyone, do all of those restorations that you talked about have rusty patch bumblebees?
Yeah, I found them in all those. I think I'm up to, a couple years ago, I started keeping track of what preserves had them, and I think I was up to like 24 preserves or something like that, but I could probably go find them in all of them if I really looked hard for them. I got so much to do. It's just been passing. But this was up at Olson, and this was a polo field at one time. And then they started using it as soccer field after they quit using it as a polo field. And so then the soccer club or whatever that was taking care of it, they kind of went defunct. So then we planted it back in the prairie restoration. And there was a ton of bergamot blooming and like some pasture thistles and stuff like that. There's all kinds of bumblebees on that. But then I got to look, and the rusty patch was the only one using the vervain. They weren't even on those other stuff where all the other bumblebees were. They're kind of off on their own in the vervain. I thought that was kind of neat. But you can see the brown touching the yellow. Yep. So that's what you got to look for. And this is right here at the headquarters. And this is just some wild garlic that's planted along the bike path. And there's rusty patch on that. So it doesn't necessarily have to be native stuff, but we want native stuff. This is the one at my house that was on turtle head. I got like 3 or 4 big turtle heads, and they're all over the turtle head. This is on the bergamot. This one should play. I don't know. I was hoping it plays. Nope. Look at that, but look at all the bumblebees on there. It's just loaded. And this is some, I think, showy goldenrod. And but yeah, I don't know if that's certain day, but there was just like hundreds of them, it seemed like. But I think that a lot of those were like the Bumpus impatiens, the small little like eastern bumblebees. one other plant they like, I see them on a lot like that is wild senna. I always kind of call it like bee crack. It seems like they love that stuff. And it's purple prairie clover. This is the red belted, the Rufosynthus or something. Yeah, but see how pretty that one is? I think they just started coming up this way. I think they're more of a southern species, but I think, you know, climate kind of warming and stuff. I think they're kind of making their way up here. I think this was like maybe around Mactown area or something like that. I was seeing them. There's another picture of it. This is really pretty, that red and black. Can't confuse that one with any other ones. And then just, you know, anything, any kind of pollinator, I think that's Regal fritillary. And then I think that's one of those big bumpus, like the Pennsylvania kiss, the really big ones. But this is nodding thistle. You know, you don't want nodding thistle, but they're all over it. They really like thistles. And then this is another one. I just took this picture because of all the pollen sacks. That was just loaded down with pollen. I'm not sure what that was on there. Yeah. And so then if you're interested in anything else at the Forest Reserve, we have our citizen science. We do frog monitoring, the bluebird monitoring, but bat monitoring. We did some other stuff. I'm not sure what all going on, but then there's other activities like our wildfire hikes or moth nights. And we have a volunteer coordinator, Keith Cray. You can talk to him if you're interested in being a citizen science or doing any volunteer work. And just keep an eye on our website for any of our events that come up. So anybody got any questions? Happy to answer them. Nope, never do that. We never move like
The
any
question,
wildlife.
the question for you at home was, do they ever transplant the bees?
No, that's like involves like some federally license, you know, and stuff like that, you know. So yeah. They fly around, they can get from one preserve to the next, you know, they travel.
So there's a question here. Does the burning affect the nesting queens?
That's again, you know, we try to rotate our burns where we're not burning everything every single year. And we leave refuge areas. Like I said, we only burn like 1,200 acres or so, 1,500 acres at the most a year. So we still have 10,000 other acres that never got touched. So. And we've been doing this for years, and we seem to have a lot of rusty patch bumblebees in the area, so I don't think it bothers them.
So if you have a question at home, you can put it in chat, or if you want to unmute yourself, you can just ask the question. Paul.
Could you drill down in about the use of a high tunnel and how you do it? What kind of a staffing do you need to run a high tunnel? Heating of the high tunnel?
What's a high tunnel?
Those greenhouses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, our greenhouse, we don't have like frost-free water lines or any heat, so we don't even get it running until like into April, first part of May.
So you just use it seasonally?
Yes, yep. And then I drain all the water lines for the winter and stuff. But if you wanted to grow year round, that's a lot of work. We spend a lot of time, you know, just our little 3,000 plants or so a year, you know, taking care of the greenhouse. It's easy to get it started like in flats, you know, plant some flats, but then you have to wait like about 3 weeks and then they're big enough to start transplanting. And that's when it gets busy, you know. And we've been using a seed mix soil mix that we get from Pizzo and Associates, and there's like hardly no weeds in it. So we don't have any weeding to do after we transplant them. So that saves a lot of time as well. And then I keep stuff in the greenhouses for like maybe a couple weeks after we transplant it, and then it moves outside. And I have all automatic waters and everything like that. So,
Thank you.
Paul.
Yes, I was wondering, why is it necessary to clean the seed?
That's because
Question is, why is it necessary to clean the seed that you harvest?
That's because I'm running in that no-till drill, and I can't have any chaff in there because it'll plug it up. Like the long stringy stuff, like even like a piece of like a leaf, like a long stringy leaf or something, that'll plug it up. I don't mind like the smaller little harder like stems, you know, because that'll kind of break apart, but it's that stringy stuff that will plug up the drill. You can go out and hand broadcast it and stuff and not have to clean it as well, but some places that do that, they might be putting 30 to 50 pounds per acre of seed down. When I do it with the drill, I like 15 pounds per acre. So It goes a lot farther and it's directly right into the ground. I don't have to worry about the water washing the seed off or birds eating the seed or anything. It's right in the ground. Yeah.
Timothy?
Are controlled burns done at Lockhart?
Yeah, they burn there.
They
Yeah.
do? Okay.
Their staff doesn't do it, but they have like biologists from other parts of the state or whatever that come in and do it. Yeah.
Paul?
When you do a prairie reestablishment, do you require that it have a special anomaly on the land? Or would you just take flat ag land and reconvert it into a
Sure, but
prairie?
there's like different soils. Oh, I'm sorry, Julie.
So the question was, what kind of land do you pick to do restorations on?
But you have to go by the soils, like that sandier soils that were up at Alder. They like the drier, shorter grass species and stuff. But then you might get somewhere it's more loamy, like the really good black dirt, and that's where like the taller grasses do well. And so then sometimes you get the clay. Some of those were maybe more forested ground or the savanna type ground. So you got to check the soil, what plants do best.
Okay, we have a question online. Katie's asking, or I missed the beginning. Did you mention how to designate your site as a rusty patched habitat?
I don't,
Naturalist, right?
yeah, I don't really I don't know if it's designated. I just plant what I think needs to be there, and then it shows up,
So I think you're referring to that I talked at the beginning that the Fish and Wildlife Service has a public comment period going on now where they're in the process of designating critical habitat for the rusty patch bumblebee. And how that's done is kind of complicated. I've tried to figure it out myself. But the best suggestion is to go online, just Google rusty patch bumblebee, and you'll probably come up this process that they're going through now to designate these habitats. Most of the known habitats, as Mike showed on one of the early slides, are in Illinois, northern Illinois and southern Wisconsin. And the Park District, I was told, has like 60 sites on their properties that they have designated
Awesome.
habitat. And then the Forest Preserve has about 20, you said 26?
Well, I think just about every property we have could have rusty patches on, really. It's all good habitat. I'm probably managing for all species, not just a single species.
No, I'm in McHenry County. I'm a volunteer steward, and they're at a bunch of sites around me, and I just wanted to, I don't know, I'm gonna have my kids do a little science fair project in the summer, try and find these bees, and to have this site designated as their habitat. I think I'd get a lot more help or maybe funds at least. I don't know.
Well, I would check with your friends at the McHenry County Conservation District and they can help you with that.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Do these bees crossbreed?
I don't think so.
Do the bees crossbreed with other species?
Yeah, not that I know.
With themselves, like the rusty patch?
With like a brown belted or something or
Yeah.
another. I don't think they do, no.
So
They stick with their own species.
the eggs
Yeah.
that they lay then will develop into
Yep.
what they are.
Yep. The only ones that do are that nest, those citrine bumblebees I said, they're nest parasites. That's the only one that, otherwise they raise their own. Yeah.
Okay,
If there's like,
Yeah, I just have a
Paul?
question. I had a friend who said her sister had like 5 hives, beehives, and they all died. And now I'm hearing that that's normal.
like the honeybees.
Yeah.
It depends on it could have been.
so the
like-
question is about honeybee hives dying out. Now, honeybees are not native. They were brought here from Europe.
Yeah.
Probably on the Mayflower.
But yeah, they're real acceptable to disease because I think their genetic difference is really, small, and even the cold, they're acceptable to cold. So I know some people, they'll move them to a southern climate just so they don't die off in the winter.
There's an old Indian saying that first comes the honeybee, then comes the white man. because they'd swarm and go inland.
Yeah. So, thank you very much. I want to say some of you know that I'm a commissioner on the board of the Forest Preserve District. And last night we had a board meeting. We had a report on the Natural Resources Department's work for the last year. And you have what, like 7, 8 employees to do the whole 44 preserves, the whole 12,000 acres.
2 or 3 of us.
And the amount of work that our staff do, and they do use a lot of volunteers and contractors. It's just amazing. We're so proud of them. And I'd say if those of you who live in Boone County, we could say the same thing about the Boone County Conservation District and their work. And I'll just say, if you live in Winnebago or Boone County, you're getting really good value for the little amount of money you pay in property taxes to support those 2 districts. And as you can see, it's doing wonderful things, preserving this endangered species and lots of other pollinators and plants. So get to know your conservation areas and your forest preserves, plan visits this summer, and volunteer if you have time. So, Jenny, one last question. Very little.
Yeah, that 2017. I think, last time that
So the question was, do we get federal funds for any of this? And they did get a Fish and Wildlife Service grant. And we've gotten other Fish and Wildlife Service grants to do projects on forest preserve lands. But it's mostly either property tax income revenue, local property taxes, or private grants from, like, the Morton Arboretum got some money from a fine, and they are giving that to us to plant trees at Clem Arboretum. So that's the kind of thing. We are very, very good stewards of your money. And we were hoping that there will still be grants available for these kind of projects. Judith, shut up.
Sorry. Are there Rusty Patch bees inside Rockford?
Judith is asking, are the Rusty Patch bumblebees inside Rockford? Yes, absolutely. In fact, urban areas are one of their preferred habitats. So look for them in your own yard. If you have these species, they will possibly be there, especially in later summer when they're getting ready to. Yeah. So, with that, I'll remind you, unless Janet, you want to say anything more about the plant sale? You were busy doing something when I.
It's not running, but we have ordered tons of plants. Remember, you can only order now this year online. There will be no mail-in order brochure. There'll be a brochure on the website. You can download them. Read all about the plants and the pictures, but everything will be done this year. And if you need assistance with that, we're gonna have 2 sessions going on at Cherry Valley's library. Those dates will be posted on their website, so if you need help enabling the website, the portal.
So the Janet's saying that the plant sale brochures will all be online this year. We won't be mailing out any. If you need help to order online, we'll have a couple of days where you can come to the Cherry Valley Library and somebody will be there and they'll put your order in for you.
Will this be online if we wanted to print a list of plants that are conducive to the habitat?
We will put in our newsletter and resources, not the whole list because we don't have much room, but we'll put how to access this. Right, that's what you got right there. Yeah, we'll give you those references to where to find those lists. And I think on our plant sale list, we indicate those species that pollinators prefer. So there's lots of resources available. And again, I want to thank Mike and the Forest Preserve District for all the work that they're doing for native species. So I'm going to stop sharing your screen here. And those of you at home, thank you for joining us. We had, I think some people have dropped out, but we had about nine families who joined us from home. 17, I thought I saw that number somewhere. So thank you tonight. Hang around, talk to Mike, look at the paper, handouts, and stay warm.
Good job, Ann.
I did not. I changed the buttons.
I don't know where.